Welcome to Friday again. As you know, I have a puppy called Nina, and she's an avid reader. I don't know if you can see this. She's been tearing these things up. She just can't stop, novel after novel. She's amazing. I wish I had the same love for literature as she does. 12 weeks old too, crazy. But on the subject of great literature, this is a book by one of our club members. I don't know if you can see it, Joan Marie Verba, who's here, has just been published again. And this is a Halloween-y style piece, Defying the Ghosts, a haunted house story. And hopefully she's around somewhere online, so we can talk about, around somewhere here, so we can talk about this. I haven't read it yet, Joan. Well, I'll tell you. Are you here?
Yes, I am.
Yay! Tell us a bit about the book.
The book has just come out, and I have publicized it in a whole bunch of other ways, but I have published, I have over 40 books in my name right now that are in print. And most of the time, most of them sell zero. I know we have a lot of creatives in the Sid City Social Club, so it should not be a surprise that authors don't make a lot of money. Most authors don't. There are, the 2% that make a lot of money, like Stephen King, George R.R. Martin. Those authors make a lot of money, but most authors do not make a lot of money. And survey after survey, both in the UK and in the United States, and I presume Canada and other places too, that the average author, that's the average, meaning that many make below that, $3,000 a year. So it's not something that a lot of people make a lot of money with. A couple of years ago, I more or less came to the conclusion that I was going to write mostly for my own satisfaction, because I love writing and I enjoy writing, but not to put my expectations up too high, because I don't think I'm going to be ever in one of the 2%. So I'm just publishing. Now with this book, I got a couple of other insights as to why the other books might not be selling very well, besides the usual obstacles that most authors come up with. Self-published authors particularly have a hard time getting attention. And one of them is that I'm an autistic author, and therefore when I write, I emphasize, although I pay attention to my characters' feelings, I mostly am interested in what the characters are thinking and doing rather than what they are feeling.
Right.
And one of the test readers that I got from that was very upset about that. And she said that she was ready to put the book down and would not even continue because she wanted to know more about what the character was feeling. Well,
right.
If you're that kind of person, if you're that kind of person that wants all the feels, my book might not be what you want. That's fine. My book is not for everybody, and I certainly understand that. Another thing is that the main character of the story is not in a relationship, does not have a best buddy to talk to, or a significant other or anything like that. And for people who read books for relationships, this is not going to appeal to them either. But if they want a story where a character has a strong challenge and has to gather all of her wits and all of her intelligence in order to overcome those obstacles, then this is a story for you. And the obstacle happens to be a haunted house. And the story starts with the main character being tossed out of the house by her mother on her 18th birthday. She has no place to live. She hears about a haunted house where the owner says, if you can stay in the haunted house overnight, you can have the house. But the reason that nobody has claimed the house so far is that there are a lot of ghosts in the house. The house is haunted, and they will do anything short of murder to get you out of the house.
Wow.
So a lot of people have tried, and nobody has succeeded in staying overnight. She is determined to stay overnight and claim the house, but it's going to be difficult for her. And you have to read the book to find out what happens. And I think the ending is a little unexpected. Because when I belong to a critique group, and I have for over 40 years now, where I read my manuscripts a chapter at a time to the rest of the critique group, and they comment on it. And when I got to the end, they went, "What?" So it's not, but they loved it. They loved it, and they are my best best promoters of the book. I still haven't sold a lot. I've sold like 23, according to the statistics that I keep track of. I've sold it maybe 23 paperbacks so far and 10 ebooks so far.
Great. That's terrific. It hasn't been out very long.
It hasn't been out very long. And as I said, my expectations are, you know, I don't think I'm going to get into the 2% of authors.
You said you self-described as a autistic writer.
Yes.
And this might be of interest to some people. So at what point did you get diagnosed, and how did you find out? I mean, obviously
I didn't get diagnosed until I was 50 years old, which is late. And I didn't know that I was autistic. Of course, I knew from a very young age that I did not fit in.
Yeah.
And I was pretty much mercilessly bullied by my peers from kindergarten to the graduation of high school.
Yeah.
But I didn't know why. I thought I was a nice person, but I thought,
That just interests me, because there might be people here who also find it difficult to write about feelings.
Yeah.
Or just ignore it, not even find it difficult. Just it's not an avenue, an open door. It's not something that's there. Sorry, carry on. I think some people might be interested in that.
The closest that I came to getting published with one of my novels was in the early 2000s when I had an agent temporarily just for this book. After that, I sent her another book and she didn't want to represent me anymore. She didn't like it. But anyway, she did like this book and made me rewrite it 3 times, which was all the good to the book. She sent it out and I said, look, I'm not sensitive about rejection slips, so just send me all the rejection slips. I don't care what they say. So she sent me the rejection slips, and they all pretty much said, good writing, but we aren't enthusiastic enough about publishing it. So.
Well, that's pretty nice to know.
Yeah, well.
You're on the right track.
Yeah, I'm on the right track. At least they didn't reject it because they thought I was a poor writer. That's exactly. Anyway, so I kept writing and writing and writing, and then I started self-publishing. I started self-publishing with Boldly Writing, which you've read, in the early 90s. I mean, in the mid 90s, and then in the early 2000s, again with all this rejection, I thought, well, maybe I should start self-publishing my stuff and see how that goes.
Yeah. And
there was in 2011, Amazon introduced ebooks and they started promoting them extremely aggressively because they wanted to get into the ebook market.
Right.
And at that time, a lot of editors, a lot of self-publishers such as myself were making a lot of money because Amazon was putting a lot of effort into promoting ebooks. They wanted to get ebooks established. They wanted people to read them. They wanted them to get in the habit of reading them. So they were promoting them aggressively. And those of us in the self-publishing business, we were making good money. And that was really the only point in my writing career where I was making good money on books, because I was selling literally hundreds of ebooks per month. Hundreds.
Fantastic.
Hundreds. What that told me was that, a lot of people will say when they critique self-published authors, you know, your stuff isn't selling because the cover is bad, your content is bad, you aren't advertising it enough, you aren't doing that enough. But that told me that there was nothing wrong with my covers, there was nothing wrong with the content. People were buying it, people were reviewing it, people were loving it, people were doing that. And then Amazon had, and then after about a year and a half, Amazon had people in the habit of reading and publishing ebooks. So they sort of dialed back on the ebook promotion, and then I and just about everybody else was finding it was, again, hard to get established.
Yes, of course, of course. Could I ask one more question?
Sure.
What led you to get a diagnosis?
What led me to get the diagnosis was that I read very widely on very many subjects, and I kept reading articles on autism and how it worked and how what were the characteristics and stuff like that. And I thought, gee, that sounds like me. And so there was a quiz that I found to take, a test to take to see whether one was on the spectrum or not. And I took it, and they said, nobody gets 37. So that would be a perfect score for autism. But the closer you get to 37, the more autistic you are. I got 36.
Oh, goodness. Okay, so you're nearly perfect autistic.
I'm not perfect, but I'm pretty close. But I did get it also confirmed by a professional after that.
Of course.
So it's definitely professionally confirmed that I'm on the spectrum.
And could I ask you, how does a professional confirm that? What do they obviously talk to you, they ask you about your habits, etc.
They talk to me, they ask about my experience, they ask lots of questions. I can't remember everything about it, but there was an evaluation by and it was.
And was it a traumatic experience, or was it actually
No, it was like the light goes on. That explains all the stuff that's happened earlier in my life. Right.
That's really good to know, especially for people who are wondering, hey, maybe I'm autistic, I'm not sure.
Yes, and now that I know that when certain things happen, it's because I'm an autistic person talking to a neurotypical person, and they don't quite understand that. So I can at least understand that now. I couldn't before. Now I can. So it was like a light bulb went on. So it was nice.
Thank you, Joan Marie, and well, keep safe.
I shall.
Come back to us. Okay, darling.
All right, next up we're going to Petra.
Petra, good to see you again.
Nice to meet you again.
They're beautiful roses behind you.
Yeah, it's from a client.
Oh, well, tell everybody again what you do.
I'm a cleaner.
Perfect.
A room cleaner. Yeah. Still a room cleaner.
Still, well, of course. At least you have you can clean some rooms at this time.
Yeah.
Do you find that you have much less work than you normally do?
No, not really.
It's just the same.
I have had a few clients which I couldn't go because it was a bit unclear if they are infected with the virus.
Yeah.
And then we don't go.
Right.
Yeah, but now
but
it's
otherwise,
better.
you've been okay from the work part of your life.
Yeah. It's
Are you at home?
I'm sorry.
Are you at home?
I'm at home. Yes.
Yeah. Because you're a lawyer or something. Because you have all these amazing books.
Oh no. Yeah, it's just decoration.
Well, they look great, and your English is so much better. You've been learning. Yeah, in 6 months. Goodness.
Yeah, I go to a school now.
It shows, Petra. It's
really
fantastic. Yeah.
Thank you.
Really
That's so
good.
nice. That's so nice from you to say.
And are your family well?
Yes, my parents are well, and my brother is well.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. So what's your project now?
I am knitting a scarf
Oh, wow.
here, but it's just the beginning.
Oh my goodness, what an amazing color. It's
Yeah,
canary yellow.
Yeah, it's yellow.
It's beautiful.
Yeah,
It's gonna be wide.
everything. Sorry?
It's going to be a really wide scarf.
Yeah,
It's really luxurious.
yeah.
Is yellow your favorite, one of your favorite colors?
At the moment, yes, everything is yellow.
It is it's a really relaxing color though.
Yeah.
It's such a lovely color.
And I'm working on how is that called? A diamond painting. Do you know what this is?
No, but
I have one. I have to put away the roses. Maybe you can see it
I can see that.
behind
Yeah.
me. Can you see it?
Yeah, it looks like Captain Kirk in the middle.
Yes, yes, we have all the captains. Maybe I can.
If it's easy.
Oops. Okay, let's see.
Oh yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's pretty spectacular. And how do you make that?
It's actually a canvas.
Yeah.
And then you have these little stones, diamond stones, and you have to put them.
Every one.
Yeah.
So we'd call that, another word for that might be a mosaic.
Yeah, you can.
Is it the same kind of technique?
It's the same kind of technique, yeah.
I think that's easier than diamond painting.
Yeah, actually, at the moment I'm working on another one, and it's one of you. It's, but you can't see. It's big. Okay, but I only started.
It'd be fascinating to see how it begins. Wow. Okay. So one line at a time.
Yeah.
That's amazing. What an enormous amount of work. That's just amazing. It's like you're a human 3D printer.
Yeah. Kind of.
That's astonishing, Petra. Really phenomenal.
Yeah.
So that must be really make you go into a really lovely place as you do that, because it must take hours and hours.
Yeah,
wow.
I think I will have another 4 or 5 weeks until it's finished.
How do you start doing that? What did you do when you began? You went, right, I want to do this. I think maybe because you saw some lovely diamond paintings somewhere. How do you begin? Do you have to get some expensive material? Do you have, how does it work?
Yeah, it's a bit expensive. Yeah, I ordered it, and you can give them photos from whatever,
and they will give you the right crystals.
Yeah.
Gosh,
and
fantastic.
Then
People might love doing that.
And then you just have to put the stones on the canvas.
What's the name of the people you get it from?
This is Pigmondo from Germany. This is from Germany.
Pigmondo.
Yeah.
Okay,
but
good to know.
I think it's originally from America.
That's phenomenal, because I can see. Do you know the artist Monet, the Impressionist artist?
Yeah, I love Monet.
With the lilies on the ponds and all that.
Yeah.
I think that would make an amazing diamond picture because of the glistening of the water and all the lilies and everything. So anyway, that's just me going, that's what a great thing to do. Obviously, I would obviously prioritize a picture of me. I think it's much more important. anything Moni has ever done.
Yeah.
But that's great. That is really wonderful.
Yeah,
And,
I can
yeah.
show. Yes, sorry.
No, I want you to continue.
I can show you the picture that I'm working on when I find it.
It's okay, take your time.
Right.
Everyone's just chatting anyway. Oh yeah,
This one.
absolutely.
This is this one. And then when I have finished this, I have another one from you.
Wow, I think that was
you.
when I was doing publicity for Cairo Time.
Oh, really?
I think that's
Cairo.
where what that picture comes from. Yeah, because I don't have my photograph taken unless I'm doing publicity.
Okay. And this is the worst picture of you.
Oh, that's only right.
Now what happened here?
That's really
What
funny.
is that?
I know.
Who did this to you?
Do you know what happened? I'll tell you the story because now you know both of them. I think it was 1999 or somewhere around there. No, it was before that. 1997. That was because it was a year after Django, and Nana, who I married at that time, asked me to get platinum blonde hair. And being a dutiful guy, I said, sure. And so I got this hair done at vast expense for my wedding. So I was with Nana, I was married with this hair. And that's what that look came from. And I looked like, well, put it this way, my grandmother, who was still alive, British grandmother who was still alive, a Yorkshire woman, was just walking around the whole wedding in the garden. We had a big wedding in the garden outside. And she was like, whatever do you look like? There's something that a cat dragged in. Oh, what does he look like? That was all I heard. Sorry, I was using an accent which made it very difficult for you to understand that. Oh, my giddy aunt, she used to say, what do you look like? And that was all I got from my grandmother on our wedding day. And so that was this. I heard from her that was the worst look, and I have never done it since, I have to say. But never say never. May have to do it again.
No, no.
It looks like more like I'm a basketball player or something. Thank you so much for coming back.
Thank you.
I can't tell you how brilliant your English is. It is brilliant.
Brilliant. Oh, come on.
It is.
Brilliant.
6 months. I remember when you first started, and I had to stop speaking and explain and say it another way. And now I just speak like normal, and you understand everything I say.
Oh,
pretty
that's
good.
so nice. Thank you.
Okay, Petra. Take good care, sweetheart.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, next we're going to hear from Colin. Not that
Hello.
Colin.
The different
Hello,
Colin. The other Colin. Hello, sir.
Not that Colin, the other Colin.
The other Colin. The Mirror Universe Colin.
The Mirror Universe Colin. It's good to see you, Colin.
Yeah, good to see you as well. How have you been?
Two first names. That's just kind of unusual. Colin and Neil.
Yes, and I constantly get that at work. You know.
Yeah.
And then I just ignore people that get my name wrong.
Well, I'm sorry.
That's all right. No, not you though.
It's basically an old fish hanging off your back, which is really not one. So how are you?
No, I'm great. And you know, I was just thinking, you know, last week when you ended the call, you said something like, "Oh, by the way, guys, can we think about how we can be less competitive?" And so
yeah, I do remember.
I took that as homework, so I don't know. No, if that's something you wanted to talk about.
I'm really glad because I know that there are people, because we're taught to be competitive. You know, we actively, people go out of their way to make us more competitive, which I think mechanizes us.
Yeah.
I think it turns us into kind of machines that we are not. And a lot of us don't do well under direct competition. Obviously, you know, that's why we're not all sportsmen or all Olympians or whatever it is that actually do well in great competitive jousts. But I find that we're micro-competitive, just chatting to each other at bus stops and in church and wherever. And I find that to be a problem. What have you come up with? Because that's really interesting.
No, it is really interesting because, I mean, in a sense, it's kind of human nature. You know, every form of life, everything is based on hunger and competing for things. Yeah. And there's no infinite supply. We have surplus, which is how economies work, but we don't have infinite supply of things. So everyone was always competing, and and that seems that's sort of underlying instinct or something. But it's the way different people operate. And when I come across like a competitive person at work, or having worked for a company where everything is super competitive and people just go at each other, I just find I just sit back and watch them explode, because I'm just like, what race are you trying to win? How are you? Sometimes, I mean, competition is like, if you are in sport, then absolutely. And if you are in a very competitive company, that can work based on their culture. But I moved from a company that was very, very competitive in nature to one that actually has collaboration as one of our mission statements, or as one of the behaviors. And we we judge people on collaboration. And so, and it works. It's like the poison has gone.
I couldn't agree more, mate. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
I mean, when we started this social club up, obviously we've got all kinds of people here hanging out. And one of the things that kind of came up to me as a reason, once I started to meet different people from different places, was that I would form opinions. And those opinions were really, I think, inspired by an innate kind of competitive streak in me.
Right.
So I don't really like you kind of people, because if I make that clear to my subculture here, they might like me a bit more. And you completely ignore the fact that you've got something to learn off just about everybody. And you're so busy winning, you actually end up losing.
Absolutely. Listening, and it's that thing of where, are we too afraid to let go of competing because you think that's losing? And it isn't. It really isn't. I mean, I'm sure it's not the case always, but I'm just, there's been a time, it was like a year ago, and we were in some staff meeting in San Jose, and the sun was out, and we were all, working on some project. And one guy just took over, and he was trying to compete with everyone in the same group that was trying to solve things as a team. And I was this close to taking him aside. He was like several levels above me. It was his like first week, and going, you know what? Just don't behave like this. And hey, mate, you just, it's not how we work here and stuff like this. He's not around anymore. But of course. And it's so I tend to sort of step back, sort of have in answer to your question, how can we be less competitive? I think the people that are less competitive know they're less competitive. It's how do we take it out of others and say, just, it actually, the behavior isn't necessarily fruitful, So I kind of, I should have done that. I should have gone for the helpful option. I should have said, look, this is, perhaps I think you're taking over a little bit. Let's give other people a chance to speak and things. So,
I mean, that's very brave. I don't think that always works, because people go, who is this person? Where do they get off telling me how I should behave? And how dare they? So it's a very fine line in your training. Yeah. I mean, in a funny way, I think you're absolutely right to be discussing it, and we should think of ways to help, because there's all sorts of other problems too, which when we let go, which we shouldn't be letting go of. We've talked a bit about trans community. We talked a bit about the ethnic problems that we have, and various other things. And it's just when to speak up and when not to speak up, and how to do it.
And it's hard. It's probably. I mean, I'm also thinking I probably do it as well, and I don't.
We all do.
Myself,
We all do.
Yeah, no,
It's
exactly.
not,
Yeah.
you know.
But to what extent? I mean, you can see it like a mile off when someone is in a meeting behaving like that in a work situation. But it's like, am I trying to be competitive? Am I trying to talk over others and stuff like this? And I used to be a lot quieter because I didn't want to. And people then started saying, why don't you speak up on stuff? And I'm like, okay, I think I've kind of got the balance right. But it's dealing with ultra competitive people who make life a problem for others. And so my tactics are always sort of, either ignore them, go around them, call them on it publicly if it's really, really bad. And do what you can to sort of help. But it can just be like a total sort of vampire on people's energy. So, I'm glad you brought it up. I think it's sort of behavior that's around us that we can be conscious of I mean, it's almost like, because we were talking about Brexit a minute ago, or Boris Johnson and stuff. It's like, to me, that's, well, we can be more competitive than the EU, therefore we'll go off and do this. And it's just like, without like the ultra sort of competitive nature of things, it's like, it's just not for me. It's like, to collaborate, life is not a race. There's the civilization has not been around a long time. It will be on along for a very, very long time. There's no race to get there sort of first.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. I mean, I do think that there's a place for the competition. I think it's really important that, companies compete for contracts and that, the various things that go. But I think on a very personal level, we should be very mindful not to compete with people who would like to get to know, because it just it discludes you from that particular knowledge of them, because now you're just ratcheting it up the stakes.
Yeah, and you're talking across each other.
You're not giving anything, and so that's a real problem. And I do like my give and take analogies for people who are different from each other, because we've all got something to steal off each other. If only we don't have the moment to bother doing it. I love that.
I'm glad you think that way as well. I think that
works.
And this whole session, the whole club is around listening to people. No one's competing. No one's coming off mute. No one's talking over each other. We're all learning something new each time. So thank you again for that. It's been great.
Oh, welcome. Really, no problem at all. I love those notes. I think we can talk more about that. I mean, I think that there's a lot more, because I just think that's the tip of the iceberg. I'm just a layman, but I think competitiveness is a problem that I'm in the process of identifying as a real issue for us. Thanks, man. Thank you very much for the chat. Come on back whenever you want.
I will. It's great to see you.
Bring your cool rainbow-coloured zip.
Yes. No, I've come as sort of Wesley Crusher covered in glitter today. So, no, brilliant. Thanks again, Sid. It's really great to see you, and it's great to see everyone as well. So, thank you, Mel. Thank you, Sid. Take care.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, we're going to go to Fura. There we go. Yes, I'm sorry. I should have asked for pronunciation. And she's our first person from Nepal.
Oh, wow. My goodness. Hi. It's very nice to meet you. I have never been to Nepal, Fura.
At first I would like to tell something about myself.
Please.
So, when I was 2 years old, I almost suffered early death, but I didn't die. But I lost the use of my leg. I cannot walk now.
Right.
But and the doctor couldn't find out the problem why I cannot walk. And when in 1997, my dad went to Mount Choyu in China. So the team was success, and there was a party and we were invited. So the Japanese felt pity on me, and he took me and my dad to Japan for my treatment. There we found the because of my disability. So
Right.
we thought the problem was in the leg, always in the leg, you know, we treat in the leg, but the problem was in my brain. So it was the nervous tissue on my brain was weak.
Right.
So the doctor said I need brain surgery, which is very risky, you know.
Yes.
So my parents decided let's not do it. So I was
Right.
brought back to Nepal, but I was better than before, and I started joining school, you know. But our neighbor, like we are Sherpa and we have other cultures, and they were
Yeah.
saying like people like this should not go to regular classes. They need to go to handicap classes. But my parents disagree. They paid a little bit higher to what we say,
Yeah.
to the sisters that, you know, look after the schools, and so that they can help me to go to bathroom, do this and that, you know.
Good.
Then, yeah, and I cleared +2. Till +2, there was no problem.
Right.
But I was studying uh, development finance.
Yeah.
But at the end of my bachelor, I couldn't complete because of internship. Because in internship, they need someone who work as a lower level person to do stuff here and there, you know. So I was
Right.
rejected.
Right.
And I couldn't complete my bachelor. I was so
Oh.
depressed, you know.
Yeah. I'm sorry,
Then,
of course.
yeah, but that was a phase. I was depressed. I was locked in the room, you know. I locked
Yeah.
myself in the room because I was a talented student, but I couldn't read it.
Yeah.
And yeah, then my uncle, who is, I think you know him. He is called Kamirita Sherpa, the 24 times Everest climber.
Oh yes, I absolutely. He's famous
Yeah,
in the climbing world.
yeah.
My
So he came to me and he said, like, why are you doing like this? You know, getting education, getting certificate is not our goal. You know, to be success is our goal to be achieved. Then I was confused, like all this time we were reading to get that certificate, you know, so that we
yes.
can get some job, you know, in future. Then he said, like, we are Sherpa, we are meant for mountain, you know.
Yeah.
Your grandfather, father, and me, we all work in this field without education. But you have a plus point, you are educated. Then with his advice, I started my own trekking company.
Right.
And yeah, when I started, I was the youngest entrepreneur in my country.
Wow. And you weren't an intern.
Yeah, I I just I I didn't even intern. I just started with a 0 level. And for 3 years, I stayed on the computer and I learned how to do it. Then when I was around, then it was like 3 years later, a lady
Yeah.
from American came to me and she said, like, you are an entrepreneur, you're working on a trekking industry, and you have never been to your own village. This is a shame. So we never thought that I could go till Everest base camp or anything. I mean, we
Yeah.
have never imagined because we need to walk. So she told, let's hire a horse. Yeah, when we were doing trekking, lots of people thought I was Japanese. Even Japanese thought I was Japanese, and they were speaking Japanese to me.
Yeah, well,
And
we all make
funniest thing
assumptions.
the funniest thing was that there is an inspection that takes permit. He was in the bathroom. He came running to us and said, "Oh, that's a foreigner. We need to take our entry." It was so funny. And when I talked Sherpa language, he was like shocked.
Tell me,
Yeah.
how is what's the status of your leg now? the tissue issues in your head?
I still cannot walk, but now I think like the teacher who because of them, like the school policy or anything, I couldn't complete my education, but now they proudly say, oh, this is my student, you know.
Because she's so brilliant. She started her own company.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, so it's like I gave a slap to their, you know.
wow, we're seeing the photograph. Are you seeing this? Are you seeing it?
It's on my hearse. So after seeing this picture, it was on my profile picture also for a long time, and lots of Japanese used to friend request because
Wow.
they thought I was Japanese.
So you made it. You got up on a horse.
Yeah, I went there twice. I went on 2012 and on 2015 with lots of money.
Wow. Can you tell us a little bit about your growing up and how what happened and how you feel about the mountain and how you feel about people who come and pay to go up the mountain? Obviously, they hire your family to do that. Can you talk a bit about that? So, because we might not know, we're all over the world, but some of us might not understand your relation to the mountain.
You mean the work I do?
The work you do and the work your family has done for years.
I will come to that with a question of your movie.
Good.
Yeah. So
yeah, please
I
ask.
have a question that in the movie Vertical Limit, wasn't there any Sherpa guide or potter helping you?
No.
Is the movie really suited in Pakistan?
No, it's shot in New Zealand.
Okay. So,
We shot on a glacier in New Zealand. And as you know, it was meant to be K2. And we had lots of very famous mountain climbers.
I remember Mount K2 and it wasn't same. That's why I came up with this question.
Yeah, no, there was Hollywood. That was the first movie I made in the year, I think it was 2000. It was 2000.
Yeah, 2000.
And I was really nervous because it was my first film and it was Hollywood. I'd made a lot of TV before, but although we all had mountaineers to teach us how to look like we could climb mountains, there was no Sherpa to teach me how to play someone who other people would think that was a Sherpa. Obviously, I was Pakistani, not Nepalese. But so I just did whatever I thought I could do, and that was just try and be a nice person. Oh, thank you.
I was a little disappointed because in every mountain movie, what I think they should mention about Sherpa, but even in the Everest movie, the real version of Everest, not the movie, the real character.
Yeah.
With Rob Hall, my dad was there. At least he should, there is a place to say thank you, this crew, this and that. They need to mention that, but they never mention. And every time I watch a mountain related movie, I expect that.
Yeah. It's always about the white guys. It's always about the whoever those Anatoly, whatever his name.
It's not only white guys. Even anyone who climbed, they said, I did it. They will never say, my Sherpa helped me, my, potter helped
who
me.
carried
the
oxygen? I mean, I know the stories about Sherpa who had who carry oxygen, have much more in their back than the mountain climber who pays to help be guided up the mountain. And many Sherpas have lost their lives making sure their clients survive.
Yeah. And few months ago, I made a short movie like Everest Through the Eye of Sherpa. it is not a big movie, but it's a short movie that's on my YouTube.
Can we see it?
And
Can you write down how we can watch it?
I can send you the link if you want.
Please.
I
Thank
think
you.
the movie is really clear. You can understand what I'm trying to say in the movie.
Okay, good. Thank you very, very much. Thanks for making contact. Come back and talk to me again.
Yeah.
Promise?
Promise.
Okay, our last guest for tonight, or for today is Alyssa.
Hi, Alyssa.
Hi. I'm actually a little perplexed because I showed up 30 minutes late because of the connection issues,
Yeah.
and I came in during Joan's story, and it kind of
Yeah.
what I did last night. I did a Zoom TED Talk AMA about being physically disabled in America
Wow.
because I'm in a wheelchair.
So you might have been interested too in what Fura just had to say about being physically disabled in Nepal.
Yeah.
So please tell us what you think's going. First of all, please describe, if you don't mind. You may have done it before, but just again, because they're all new people here, your disability, so that we get a real understanding.
I have cerebral palsy, and essentially what that is a brain injury sustained either in utero or during the birthing process.
Right.
It affects the part of the brain that controls muscle movement.
Yep.
So I physically cannot walk unassisted.
Right.
And it varies depending on each individual. Some people it's very mild, some it's very severe, and some it's moderate. I happen to have a moderate case, and I use a wheelchair to get around.
Right. Thank you. That's the important disclaimer out of the way, so that we all know what's going on.
Oh yeah. And last night my TED Talk was mainly about primarily wheelchair users and what they have to go through. So it was really interesting when Joan was talking about being fired from jobs due to her peanut allergy, because I've had something similar happen to me, because the law that's in place that's supposed to protect the disabled is actually being weaponized by employers to do the complete opposite.
Oh God, yeah.
There's a loophole in the law and they can claim this. If your accommodation causes undue hardship, they can legally dismiss you from a job, or they can claim the accommodation is unreasonable,
right,
and fire you. And
so what sort of sorry to interrupt, what sort of accommodation are we talking about, especially for wheelchair users?
Something as simple as, well, for instance, with wheelchair users, we take a little bit longer using the restroom, because we transfer out of our chairs onto the toilets.
Of course, it's absolutely common sense.
And so we take a tad bit longer using the restroom than most people. So we might need an extra 5 to 10 minutes in the restroom on a break than an able-bodied person. And, you know, that's a typical accommodation. Making sure there's an automatic door in the office building, so that we can get in, because if you've ever been in a wheelchair and tried to open a door and go through the door,
it's not possible. It's not possible. I mean, it's just not possible. Yeah, you need a hook and a long stick, and then an electric wheelchair to drive backwards, and then someone hold the door open when you drive forwards again. So it's just not possible.
And then some people don't use motorized wheelchairs; they use manuals, which makes it even harder.
Yeah.
That's a typical accommodation. That, and being mindful that we are prone to getting, most of us have compromised immune systems because we are sedentary. So we're very prone to getting sick at the drop of a hat.
Right. No, yeah, absolutely. So it's way beyond what I was brought up to think, because of course there's a really vibrant disability activist movement in Europe, back when Britain was in Europe, but not anymore, but there was a time. And it was really about access. I mean, that was really the crucial first step, you know, getting on a bus, getting on the subway, getting in a restaurant, getting into the theater. And that legislation was passed. Not everywhere can do it. And there's always some regulations going, well, this building is 400 years old. We can't do that. And let's go, okay, well, there's some compromise there. So access isn't necessarily your issue, although it will still be an issue.
Oh yeah, it'll be an issue.
But it's much more about the subtle things that people just don't get at all because they don't think that way.
Well, and not unless it affects you directly. Like last night, I had a lady tell me she had no clue until her mother broke her ankle and was confined to a wheelchair for months recovering. And then they realized how inaccessible her home was because she lived in a townhouse.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, I got to understand it a little bit when my stepfather was getting very old, and he simply couldn't walk. I mean, just stopped walking. And we have ramps, and we had the shower changed, and we had the house appointed to have special railings, things to make sure he was secure and firm wherever he walked, you know, or tried to get to. But it was a full-time job. I mean, the amount of care that is necessary is astonishing. So I'm amazed that people can even think of getting their heads around it. Well, what can we do? What's the thing that we can do to help in terms of awareness?
And the main thing is just talking about it, and also
normalizing.
They asked about it last night. I said, just talk about it, bring it up with people, and also, if you can, start at your local government level and inform the politicians of what's going on. Because, like I said last night, because I used my home state as an example, because they are not disability friendly at all. Case in point, I had to explain to one lady from England that there really are no sidewalks where I live.
Yeah, that's America.
There are no sidewalks and no curb cuts. And she was like, what? I'm like,
yeah, I couldn't believe it when I first came to America. I was like, what? How do these people get around? There's no sidewalk. It's all for cars.
Yeah. You're kind of forced to have a vehicle, and if you're a wheelchair user, that's a bit difficult because you have to have specialized vehicles. And if you're like me and you've chosen to have a family, you have to choose between transporting yourself or transporting your children. Because the way they retrofit vehicles, they take out all the passenger seating.
And tell me, how is your family?
We're doing good. My son is currently visiting his grandparents because he's on fall break. My husband is still working from home.
Yeah.
Because his employer has said, no, you're working from home until all of this nonsense is done and over.
Yeah. And can I ask you something that I ask a lot of people who are in families and during COVID? Has it brought you closer together, or has it made it like, because I get the feeling, I'm not living with children, my son's 24, he's gone. But I get the feeling there's a kind of closeness, even though it's irritating at times, or that's just what I think?
We've gotten closer. Like for instance, I found out my husband finally confessed to me that when we were first married, people would walk up to him when we were in public, and I would go around the corner to we were grocery shopping, and they would walk up and say the most vile things to him about me.
Wow.
And so I did not realize this until we're literally stuck under the same roof, because he never told me this because he didn't want to upset me.
Yeah, well, of course, I wouldn't want to tell you either. And what is he in the room right now?
He's lurking in the hallway.
Will he give us a wave? Will you give us a wave, please?
Hi.
Hey, I just want you to come and give us a wave, because you're being talked about, and it's rude of us not to meet you. What can I ask your name?
Oh, I'm Robert.
Well, it's lovely to meet you, Robert. We love Alyssa. We're up to speed with her.
Yeah.
And we're hearing a little bit about what it's like to be disabled in I don't know what state you're in.
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, and how slow the process is. Luckily, she's got you.
Yeah.
But imagine you weren't around. Oh my goodness, how difficult would it be? It would just be almost impossible. And having children and all the stuff that you're
Oh, yeah.
enjoying. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we've had some pretty. I think one of the big misconceptions is people think we can't have children.
Well,
And
yeah.
they discover that I've actually had a child. They just kind of have this horrified look, like, wait, what?
You're allowed to have children?
Yeah.
Someone let you have children?
Yes. 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 In that exact tone, in fact.
Yeah. What? or it must be like so patronizing. It was like, oh, that's
Yeah.
so nice for you. That's just
Yeah.
we're just so happy for you. That's so great that people like you get to have children.
Yeah, we've had that tone too. Yes, we've had
You know,
that.
yeah, and I think you both of you, because you're both sharing the same soul, really, and I think that we all share this. We all need to be together on this. You know, people of color, people who aren't the right gender, people who are whatever the problems are, because we can get a lot done if we start making friends and understanding each other's issues, and you helping us learn about what you're and also the previous social club member from Nepal also helping us understand. We've got a lot more in common than the rest of them, who refuse to listen and refuse to help and refuse to change and refuse to bend the rules for us.
Oh yeah.
Because they're not really bending the rules; they need to change the rules. But I just love it. I love people like both of you who were so brave to come on here and talk about this openly. Thank you, and thank you, Mr., for coming on, having the courage to get out of stop lurking in the background and jump in the screen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alyssa.
Thanks.
And thanks to everybody who joined us today. We're going to wrap it up.